Hi, I'm Scott Starratt with Starratt Wealth Management, a part of Canaccord Genuity Wealth Management. So today we want to give a little bit of background on what happened in January, as well as touch on the first few days here of February. So January started a little bumpy with markets up and down, and that pretty well lasted up until January 20th, which was Inauguration Day in the US. And Trump was very fast in making a bunch of different proclamations, executive orders, and a whole bunch of other things in order to show the world and the US what his agenda is going to be. As it turns out, there wasn't on day one a lot of the things that he expected to do, such as tariffs on Canada and Mexico or China. That was left for a couple of weeks after. But what it did do is it did create his, what I call his chaos presidency. You know, he uses these methods and how he does things in order to create chaos. That chaos works most of the time, I guess, to be a positive thing for him. But what it does do is it creates uncertainty. And one of the things we don't like is the markets don't like uncertainty. But in any case, we had some solid news, going in towards the end of the month, to the end of January, and markets have performed quite well in January. Then we ended up having a company that most people had never heard of before in the AI world, a company called DeepSeek. And it's a Chinese company whose focus is creating different type of chat GPT type scenarios using generative AI. And other types of competitors that they would have would be companies like Gemini, who's the system that Google has created, Llama, which is the system that Facebook has created, and like I said, ChatGPT. And the data that came out of this test was actually verified that it was accurate. And the big kicker was that they said that they only spent around $6 million in order to create this system. That's a ridiculously low amount for billions that's being spent now by some of the big players such as Microsoft and Google and Facebook or Meta in order to create their AI solution. Now, like I said, it was verifiable. However, one of the big questions that's now being determined is whether that verification, although accurate, where did they get their data from? Did they create their own data like all the others, or did they actually use a backdoor into, say, for example, something like ChatGPT in order to pull the data from there? Time will tell. But what it did do is it created a lot of volatility with the AI stocks. So companies like NVIDIA, which are known for making the fastest and most powerful chip or chip integration systems out there, it created a great deal of uncertainty for them. Created a benefit for other companies that would end up using this type of technology for their ongoing business. So right now, it's still very much up in the air of what's going to happen. The good thing is, and this leads into the next part on tariffs, the good thing is not that we expected any of this to happen, of course, but if you recall, I mentioned in December that we were in the process or just finished taking some money off the table, reducing risk in portfolios. Not that they were really risky to begin with, but we just ended up being firmly on the fence. Whereas I would say in 2024, most of the year was spent being a little bit more aggressive than we had been for probably 2 or 3 years previously. And so far, that's worked out fairly well in that the volatility, although it's affected things, really hasn't affected client portfolios to any great extent. So then we hit tariffs, and Trump, as expected, did decide that he would institute tariffs on Canada and Mexico and 25% and 10% on China, as well as a little bit of a carve out for energy of 10% in Canada. So, the big thing with Trump is we have to remember that he a lot of times uses tariffs, or at least in his first presidency, used tariffs in order to negotiate. Yes, he did institute tariffs, especially places like China, but for the most part, he used them as negotiation tools. And so luckily, as we hit literally almost the 11th hour, both Mexico and Canada gave Trump enough ammunition for him to consider there to be a short-term win, with his primary goal of protecting the border against immigration or migrants that are coming across illegally, as well as to slow down or stop the fentanyl drug trade. Again, just a few hours ago, Justin Trudeau ended up negotiating a delay of 30 days with Trump and with the US government, and Mexico did the same earlier in the day. So after 30 days, we'll see what happens. One of the things that did definitely occur is with the tariffs, it got a lot of people finally looking at what the impact would be south of the border. And a lot of the politicians, whether it be in the Senate or in the governments, the state governments, ended up getting quite upset about some of the implications, because it really would most likely affect a lot of trade that's done not only between Canada and the US, but also other places in the world. So all that being said, I think February will continue to be a very volatile month. And quite honestly, it'll probably be volatile for quite some time. We definitely will, I should say definitely. It looks like we will have an election in Canada relatively soon. I mean, it has to happen in October, but that's speeding up a lot more now. And that will, I think, bring a lot of volatility to the markets as people try to figure out one, who's going to lead the Liberal Party and for a short period of time become prime minister, and number two, who will end up running the government for the next 4 or 5 years. So let's stay tuned. Like I said, client portfolios are firmly on the fence. We will benefit if things do well. We'll also be protected and have money to put to work in the markets if the market does take a little bit of a breather, but time will tell. The only other thing I'll bring up this month, it's been a long chat already, is that we will be hitting tax time here at the end of February, where the first documents will start going out either online or in the mail. If you do have any questions through that process, we'll definitely be in touch. But if you do have any questions leading up to it, please don't hesitate to contact Jim, myself, Angela, or Alex. Any four of us would be more than happy to answer your questions.